This lesson is all about mastering nonverbal communications. We're going to cover eye contact and how to avoid sending the wrong messages with our body language, including posture, gestures, and facial expressions. Finally, we'll talk about how to control nervous habits like fidgeting, ums and uhs, and more. So let's dive in. We all know how important it is to say the right things in a job interview, but it's not just what you say that matters. Your nonverbal communications say a lot about you before you answer a single question. You only have a few seconds to make that first impression. How do you do that? Eye contact, body language, the quality of your voice, the tone of your voice, how you move. All of these little things work together to form an immediate impression. Interestingly, research shows people are much more likely to rely on their first impression as the truth, even after they've spent time with the person. So if you make a poor first impression, even if you recover, that first impression is going to stick with your interviewer. Some studies also claim that 65% of your daily communication happens through nonverbal means. Your little expressions, your eye rolls, your gestures. You may not even realize you're doing these things or how others see them, but they're a big factor in how you're perceived in a job interview. Let's start with eye contact. Eye contact may seem easy enough. We all do it many times per day. However, many job seekers struggle with making natural, confident eye contact in an interview when they're nervous and distracted. Eye contact is a particularly meaningful form of nonverbal communication. So what does steady eye contact say about you? I want to cover 4 important reasons to get comfortable with maintaining good eye contact. First, it conveys confidence. Looking directly into someone's eyes says you're confident. You're confident about yourself, and you're confident in your ability to do the job. Lack of eye contact can make you seem unsure or even shifty. Second, eye contact conveys attention and interest, which helps you connect with your interviewer and demonstrate enthusiasm for the opportunity. Third, eye contact has a very positive impact on how people remember you. If you're making eye contact with your interviewer as you're telling a story, as you're talking about why you're interested in the job, sharing your strengths, they're much more likely to remember your words. You're more likely to stand out in their memory as a good candidate. Finally, eye contact is a really important part of establishing a meaningful connection with someone. You know that from other aspects of your life. When you look into someone's eyes, it helps you to establish rapport. The goal is to keep steady, comfortable eye contact with your interviewer. That doesn't mean you have to hold eye contact for the entire time that you're speaking. Let's face it, too much forced eye contact can read a little creepy. Good, natural eye contact means establishing that contact when you first meet someone, holding it, and then consistently coming back. Smiling also helps, because when you smile, you make your eye contact more warm, more engaging. Smiling also conveys interest, enthusiasm, and friendliness. Sometimes we're so focused on what we're saying and how the interviewer is responding that we forget to smile. Smiling projects confidence, even if you're not feeling it, so fake it until you make it. If you struggle with eye contact or have a very serious natural resting expression, it may help to practice making eye contact and smiling. It may sound counterintuitive to practice in order to seem more natural, but it works. Now let's talk about the importance of body language. Body language can sabotage or distract from all of the wonderful things you may be saying about yourself. You need to make sure that you're projecting confidence with your body as well as your words. Body language is particularly important as you progress in your career. It's important at every level, but as you get into more senior roles, it's even more crucial. Because in a senior role, you need to have that executive presence, right? You need to be someone that people look up to. You need to be someone that people listen to. You need to be able to go out and talk to clients and senior management and other people that are important to the job that you do. Even if you're still in the early stages of your career, it's not too early to start developing a bit of that executive presence. So let's get specific about some of these elements of body language. First off, basic, fundamental posture. Sit up as straight and tall as you can. It conveys confidence and strength. Makes you seem more reliable, like someone who can be trusted. Slouching or hunching over says you're not taking this seriously. Also, you're taking up less space. You're not as powerful. You're not as confident. Or maybe you're embarrassed about something. Maybe you're being less than truthful. Next, watch your hands. Keep them in a natural, relaxed position. For example, if you're sitting at a table for your interview, you can keep your hands on top of the table in a natural, relaxed way. If you're not sitting at a table, you can keep your hands on your knees or in your lap. It may take a little experimenting and practice to find what feels comfortable for you if you're not used to feeling on display. From a confident-based position, it's fine to gesture in a natural way, especially if that's how you talk. That's how I talk. I move my hands around, but just be careful not to go too far so that it becomes distracting. If you're whipping your hands around, making wild gestures, it can take the focus off of your words, maybe even make you seem manic. Keep the gestures confident, strong, and controlled. Also, be aware of fidgeting. I'm a fidgeter, especially if I get bored. And let's face it, some interviews are boring. But you have to stifle those instincts in an interview. Rocking in the chair, jiggling your legs, tapping your feet can be disconcerting to an interviewer and convey nervousness. Casual and occasional shifting is fine and can keep you from seeming too rigid. Another interview don't is defensive body language. Don't stand or sit with your arms crossed. This conveys a guarded attitude that can turn off interviewers. They feel you're hiding something. You're not open. Finally, don't make faces. This is really important. You may not even be aware that you're doing this, but some people will scowl, they'll smirk, or they'll actually look terrified and almost in pain. Recording yourself with Big Interview will help you see if you're guilty of any of these nonverbal don'ts that we've been talking about. Once you're aware of any bad habits, you can work on changing them and record yourself along the way to see the difference. The best cure for a lot of these problems is to just relax. That's easier said than done, I know. But if you go through this training and you prepare and practice, you're going to be more confident and thus much more relaxed. Nervous habits can also apply to your voice. So you want to make sure that you're finding the right level to be heard and project confidence and likability. So don't be a low talker, don't be a close talker, and don't be an overly loud talker either. Some people naturally have a very outside voice, and you want to make sure that you're not over-projecting. The speed at which you talk is also something to be aware of. If you talk really fast, that can come across as nervousness, and it's also hard to understand. You want the person listening to you to hear what you're saying, understand what you're saying, and remember all of your key points. You may need to listen to yourself and analyze objectively. Most people speak more quickly when nervous, so you may want to consciously slow it down a little bit. Remember, it's totally fine to pause, take a breath, think about a question if you need to. A lot of people feel like interview pauses seem to go on forever, but it's okay to pause. In fact, a pause can make you seem more thoughtful, like you're taking care with your answer. And if you need to take a breath, or if you get off track, it's far better to pause than to just keep racing ahead and blurting out things that you might regret. To help you with all of these issues, I strongly recommend that everybody warm up before an interview. It's all about getting into interview mode with your brain and your whole body, as well as your voice. Run through a couple of practice answers with Big Interview or with a friend before you head off to the interview. Otherwise, you risk warming up in the interview and not starting strong. I've conducted thousands of practice interviews, and I've seen it time and again. Clients struggling through the first few answers before finding their groove. In a real interview, that can mean botching your first impression, which is so important. Now let's talk about a related bad interview habit that almost everyone is guilty of: vocal fillers. You know what I'm talking about. Okay. We all do it in our natural speech. We all have vocal fillers that we overuse. Even with great public speakers, you'll hear an or an sneak in occasionally, and it's no big deal. It sounds human. The problem is when your fillers become distracting. A lot of people don't know that they're crossing that line. Are you doing it too much? Is it distracting? Hard for you to say without hearing it. So record yourself. I hate to repeat myself, but I feel so strongly that it's beneficial to record yourself. Not only to improve your nonverbal communications, but to refine and polish your answers as well. If you're having trouble being objective, ask someone else for feedback. Ask someone that you can trust to be honest, but constructive. And that brings us to the end of this lesson on mastering nonverbal communications. Now, you're ready to go record yourself with the Big Interview practice tool and see where you need to improve.